Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining us today, one of the webinars of Dubai Quality Group. Our webinar for today dedicated only for business excellence and benchmarking and best practice will be introduced by our esteemed speakers, Dr. Robin and Dr. Atif. The webinar will be go through around the latest research and initiatives from the Organizational Excellence Research Center in New Zealand and the field of the business excellence benchmarking and best practice. I'm honored to have with us today Dr. Robin, the head of the Center of Organizational Excellence Research in New Zealand and the chairman of the Global Benchmarking Network as well. Dr. Atif, he has over 18 years experience in the banking field with high profile banks. And I will give the floor now to Dr. Robin to start the webinar.
Okay, thank you very much, Doa. Let me just find my slides. Okay, so I trust everybody can see my slides. So welcome everybody to this presentation. Hopefully you're here because you've got a passion to learn about benchmarking and business excellence and best practices, because this is why we're here, because we've been working in this area for many, many years now. Certainly I have, and Atif has always had an interest in this area. Then he's accentuated that by doing a PhD in business excellence in recent years, and he'll be showing some of his research findings from that. So as you know, there'll be myself and Dr. Atif presenting today. I guess there's four main objectives that we're trying to achieve. One is to introduce you to the international best practice competition if you're not aware of it already. And then after that, Atif will be presenting his research. He's already completed his thesis and obtained his doctorate. And I believe his thesis work was outstanding in this area and be of great interest to you all. And then I'll talk about the trade best practice benchmarking methodology and some latest developments with respect to that, and also inform you about the Global Benchmarking Network. But before I do all of that, I think it'd be nice to have a little interlude and let you know a little bit about New Zealand and where we're from in New Zealand. Some of you might see me in the United Arab Emirates. I travel there a lot. In fact, I'm going to be there next week and be there for a couple of weeks. So I do a lot of my work in the Middle East, but also in Asia, etc. But my home is New Zealand. I'm originally from the UK. And so you can actually see where I actually live in New Zealand from this photograph. So a little bit different than Dubai. I also do a lot of conservation work in New Zealand as well. And so this is some of the land that I conserve. And this is to protect our local birds, which are the kiwis. So this is where I do a lot of that work in that forest. I was there actually last weekend. And actually from that land, you can actually see Mount Taranaki in the distance. So you can see this is actually it's a dormant volcano, but it's ready to go live again at any point. So you can see it's quite a beautiful place. The reason why I'm showing you this really is because whilst COA may be based in a remote part of the world, still with modern technology, it does not matter where you live. You can still reach the top of the mountain wherever you are in your chosen field. And benchmarking will help you to do that. In fact, we believe our team is leaders in benchmarking and business excellence, all of these areas. But benchmarking can also help you as individuals or organizations or as a country to become the best in the world. And the reason why I say that really is because of also the advancements in terms of technology. Technology now enables you not only to live in remote places such as where I live, but it also enables you, if you live in a big city or metropolis like Dubai, it enables you to access quite quickly all best practices from around the world. And consider how to utilize them to improve your own performance or your organization's performance. And as I'm sure you're aware, technology is advancing at a breakneck speed. And so now we're all using, ChatGPT, for instance, and AI. I use ChatGPT on a daily basis. And I actually did here, you can see the top left-hand corner of this slide. I did a search using, well, that's a question to ChatGPT, which organizations have won the most Business Excellence Awards in the UAE? And you can see from that, you can see Dubai Electricity and Water Authority came up as number one. But then we've also got DP World and Abu Dhabi Ports Group, highly recognized in Abu Dhabi, having been the last winner of when Abu Dhabi had their Government Excellence Award. So you can see how that new technology can assist you in benchmarking, quickly identify organizations around the world which may excel in a field or area that's of interest to you. And then from that information, you can ask further questions to try and glean more information, or indeed then contact them and approach them directly to learn from them using social media, perhaps like LinkedIn, to actually get some details of individuals inside those organizations. So with new technology, as well as many best practices you can find through various resources on the internet, all Dubai Quality Group members get access to the BPR.com. You can do searches through that website resource and find some great best practices. As you can see, one of them in the bottom left-hand corner. This one is from the University of Barcelona. And this gentleman here, Dr. Oriol, presented at the International Best Practice Competition a few years ago and showed how they transformed their organization through rapid response teams. So they set up something like 30 or 40 rapid response teams. And within 90 days, all those rapid response teams had to come up with some great ideas on how they can actually improve the performance of the organization and develop an action plan. So within 90 days, they got together, all their people and stakeholders came up together with some action plans for improvement. And from that initial initiative, they've actually gone a long way to transforming the University of Barcelona. It's really started to improve in terms of its international rankings through its initiatives it's introduced in terms of it's a trackway to delivering better research and also how it's attracting more students to the university. You can also see on this slide here as well some oldish data now on COVID back from 2023. And I think when COVID happened, I'd never seen so many dashboards before in terms of different countries' performance. And again, this is a very important element of benchmarking. It's been able to compare your performance against others. And with big data analytics now and the utilization of dashboards, there's so much more opportunity than ever used to be in the past to compare your organization's performance against others or compare countries' performance against others. And you can also see in the right-hand side here, one of the most common, international benchmarks is in terms of digital competitiveness in today's world. And there's a number of benchmark databases that can do this. One is provided by IMD. And you can see here at the moment, I think the rankings of various countries around the world, with Singapore number one and United Arab Emirates number 11. I think from my perspective, in terms of most international benchmarks, then I think we already know that the United Arab Emirates is improving because of the emphasis on excellence, which comes from the very top of the government through the various initiatives that have stemmed all across government and a very strong leadership. But also that's also materialized as well in terms of the private sector. So in terms of the focus on business excellence in the United Arab Emirates, I'd say that's your number one in the world at the moment, both from a government perspective, but also from a private sector perspective. So I suspect that this improvement we see in international rankings will continue. And some other countries like Singapore, whilst they are number one at the moment, I don't expect that to last um, in the longer term. Their focus on business excellence has actually reduced. So a lot of the knowledge that they had in business excellence is disappearing. So this actually puts, and there's various political issues for that. So as long as UAE continues in its current direction, I see great things for the United Arab Emirates. Um, so I think it's before we sort of carry on and focus more on benchmarking, the detail of benchmarking, I think it's useful just to think about the history of benchmarking and where it came from. Modern day history of benchmarking came from the work of Rank Xerox. And so really this whole focus on benchmarking began in the early 1980s. This is modern day benchmarking when we're looking at 1980s, even though now that's almost, I guess, 40 odd years ago. But in the 1980s, Rank Xerox were in danger of going out of business. They'd seen their market share uh, for copier machines reduced from 84% of the world market share for copy machines down to 17%. So they were in danger of going out of business at that particular point in time. And then they realized they needed to do something to address that situation. So they recruited a new CEO, and then he realized that there needed to be a radical transformation of their organization, similar to what the University of Barcelona had done when he instigated these rapid response teams. But at this particular point in time in the 1980s, the CEO said to his staff, what we need to do is two things differently. One is we need to be ready to learn from other organizations for every single process that we have inside our organization. So whether it's our leadership processes or governance processes, or whether it's how we address our customers, or whether it's our supply chain, whether it's our core process in terms of how we manufacture copy machines, we need to be willing to learn from other organizations and learn to be willing need to be willing to learn from other organizations from any industry, not just our own industry. So this was actually a mind shift, a different approach than being used by organizations at that point in time, saying that they can learn from other organizations from other industries, not being focused on their own sector. So there's that mindset shift. So they said we need to be learning from any organization who is better than us for any of our processes. And secondly, what he encouraged was a systematic approach to learning, and that became known as benchmarking. They introduced a 10-step benchmarking methodology. So in a period of 7 or 8 years, they benchmarked over 200 of their business processes using a systematic approach to learning, and then they became recognized as world class. They were the first organization to win the Baldrige Business Excellence Award in 1988 and the first winner of the EFQM Excellence Award in 1992. And as a condition of winning those awards, you have to be available to share your submission documents and what you did to achieve your success. And central to their success was a use of benchmarking. So this is how benchmarking became popular all around the world, because they achieve world-class performance, they're recognized as being world-class, and then the approach that they used to deliver that was written in their submission documents, and they had to be willing to share that with other organizations around the world. So they became the benchmark of the time. So they did that in a period of 7 or 8 years when internet was only in its early origins. So it's much harder to do benchmarking then. Now it's much easier, as I've shared with you, through the use of the internet. So any organization, whether it's from the United Arab Emirates or somewhere else, they should be able to improve much more quickly, much more fastly than before. So it's more about the willingness to improve. The desire to improve is a central element here because you can access the best practices, so nothing's stopping you really. And my organization, the Centre for Organization Excellence Research, this is our premise. Our premise is to assist any organization that desires to improve, desires to get better at what they're doing. So we've designed a set of services to assist that. We're the founder of the Trade Best Practice Benchmarking methodology, which has become the methodology that's used by the Dubai government. We're the developer of the BPR.com website resource that members of the Dubai Quality Group have access to. We run the International Best Practice Competition, which is designed to be a quick way, a fast way for organizations to share their best practices and improve. And Dubai Quality Group members can participate in the competition at a discounted rate. So you can see that code in the bottom right-hand corner. If you go to the International Best Practice Competition website and want to participate, we have entries are open until the 5th of May. When you go to submit your application, just enter that code and you get a 10% discount on the fees. The fees are not a lot anyway, to be honest, for the service we provide, because the whole design is to encourage the sharing of best practices, but that will hopefully be a benefit that you obtain being a member of the DQG. And you can see in the bottom left-hand corner as well, my colleague, Dr. Atif Baig, he studied at Massey University, and now he works for the Centre for Organisational Excellence Research, and he'll give his presentation very shortly. I'm already speaking longer than I intended to, but that's not a problem. So what I'd like to do now is just bring to your attention the International Best Practice Competition, because if you're interested in benchmarking, then you should be interested in participating in the competition for two reasons. One reason is that you can put forward your own best practices and have them benchmarked and assessed against other organizations. And secondly, the whole concept of this competition is not just for you to get recognition and compare what your work with other organizations. The other reason is that you can learn from the best practices of other organizations. So that every organization that participates in this competition, you'll be able to listen to their presentation, you'll be able to read ultimately their applications. So it's designed to help everybody to do benchmarking, to help all societies around the world to improve. That's what the competition is about. So I'll just focus on this for a few minutes because you can find a lot more information on this from the website, which is bestpracticecompetition.com. So we have a deadline of the 5th of May. There will actually be a little bit, we're calling that the final deadline, but in reality, we can extend that another 5 to 10 days after that. But then that will need to be closed because you need to submit a written application. After that, you'll be delivering presentations. And the presentations will be beginning from the 2nd of June. So the jury need to have time to read your application before you give the presentations. And this is why it's, I say, an event that should inspire everybody, because when you give a presentation through this best practice competition, then all the other participants can listen to it, and you can listen to their presentations too. So there are some other awards and recognition too, but the main one is International Best Practice Competition. And we assess all the best practices using the 7-star system. 5 stars and above means you have an international best practice. But even 4 stars is a fantastic achievement. It means you've got a national best practice, something that other organizations, in your case, that other United Arab Emirates organizations would like to learn from. We also provide recognition for the highest star ratings for each category. So these are the 21 categories. And as I've said, the way you participate in the competition, you deliver an 8-minute presentation. No, you submit an 8-minute application, you submit a written application, and then you deliver an 8-minute presentation. And yeah, you can see the website address in the middle of that slide. And you'll be able to access the application forms from the website. And just to say here that your best practices are assessed using these 6 criteria. And these are criteria you'll use actually if you're doing benchmarking projects and want to learn from other organizations. Then when you assess potential benchmarking partners, you should also be using this criteria. But as part of this competition, we use this to assess your organization against that 7-star system. So we're looking for organizations which can demonstrate strong results. Obviously, results are important because that's a strong indicator of a best practice. We're also looking to see that there's a level of innovation in the best practice. Maybe there's something unique or something a little bit different about it, or that you've applied a particular, could be a well-established technique you're using or an approach you're using inside your organization, but you've applied it more quickly than other organizations or applied it more widely than other organizations. And we also look at the level of deployment of the best practice, because this will give the jury confidence that this practice will work as well for other organizations. And then we're also looking at how that practice is, or looking whether that practice is continually reviewed and refined, because then that gives the jury some confidence that this best practice will be sustainable for the future. So these are the elements of the competition and what you need to consider when you're submitting your best practice. And as this statement here by Dr. Robert Camp says, in the bottom, you can see Dr. Robert Camp. He was a pioneer of benchmarking at Xerox. He's also the honorary lifetime president of the Global Benchmarking Network. You can read his definition here, but what he's basically saying is that a best practice varies from organizations to organizations because every organization is different. You have different cultures, environments, and technologies, and you have different levels of maturity. So what is a best practice for one organization, not necessarily a best practice for another. But if you use those 6 criteria to assess organization from a best practice perspective, it will give you some indication that another organization has something of interest to your own organization that you may wish to learn from. So these are organizations, when you do benchmarking, or organizations that may have something of interest that you can learn from, that will then enable you to improve your practices even further. So when you do learn from other organizations, it's never straight copy and paste. You always need to adapt those best practices to your own particular circumstance. So with that, consider applying to the International Best Practice Competition. The other thing around this is that whilst we have the International Best Practice Competition for organizations that are pursuing excellence, and you can actually apply for best practice certification using those criteria outside of the competition too. So we often get organizations from the United Arab Emirates and around the world doing that. So whilst we encourage you to apply for the competition, we realize some organizations can't stick to their states, or they want to assess multiple best practices inside their organization because we're going for business excellence assessment, and we can do that for them and have the independent assessment from the jury. So if you're interested in that, please let me know. With that, I'm going to actually let Dr. Atif present now on his research in organizational excellence architecture. So again, maybe about 7 or 8 minutes, because then I'll wrap up after that, Dr. Atif. Okay.
Thank you so much, Robin. I don't have that exotic pictures to show like Robin did, but I will share my research and findings. So I, as title suggests, that organizational excellence architecture. So Robin, if you can move forward, please. Yeah, so this research, as Robin mentioned, that we started somewhere in 2019 and finished last year. It was around a business excellence implementation because there was a still gap in business excellence literature, that not many research are focused on business excellence implementation. So my research was focused on how leading organizations implement business excellence, so that I can showcase organizational excellence architecture to other organizations, so that they can actually learn from those best practices and improve their, fast track their business excellence journey. Over 50 organizations participated in this research from 17 countries, and you can see there's some big names from Dubai as well. They participated and provided very rich information that I used in my research and conclude my research with model called OEA, Organizational Excellence Architecture. So as I mentioned earlier, so this research introduced a novel concept of organizational excellence architecture, which refers to governance structure, resources, processes, and assessment tools organizations use to implement and sustain business excellence. And you can see that I have underlined assessment tools. So in this webinar, I'm going to talk about some leading case studies that I found during my research, so that member organizations from the Dubai Quality Group can learn and implement and improve their assessment approaches. So this is the model that I developed, but I'm not going to in detail. But this model says that if you have a right process in place, a right the resources in place, right structure in place, your approach is right, that could actually help to fast track your business excellence maturity. And that is a combination of a lot of best practices that I collected in my research, and few of them I will showcase here today. So this is a general finding that we got during the research, and you can see there's some color coding. Green organization means that organization who actually achieve world-class, level. They won awards. They are be mature. So so when I was doing some surveys and finding some best practices, we found that mature organization, they have better structure, more resources. Leadership is more involved in business excellence. They have better criterion leader there who are actually driving excellence within the organization. They have BE champions. So in summary, they have better organizational excellence architecture to support their excellence drive. So it's not about excellence only, it's about how comprehensive they have support structure in place within the organization that is helping organization to drive their excellence agenda. So yeah, so this research so far published 2 research papers. One was around development of organizational excellence architecture, and the other one was focusing on business excellence assessment. That is part of that is my focus for today's webinar. Yeah. So in if you see organizational excellence architecture, they touch upon resources, processes, internal structure, and assessment. Assessment is also a process, but it's so important in organizational journey, excellence journey, in that decided to put excellence assessment process as a separate component in OEA, and explore that how leading organizations actually implement their assessment process. So we found some 3 key organizations from different parts of the world. Unfortunately, we have confidentiality agreements, so I can't share the names and location. But one organization, we called it Organization X. I will share in the next slides. It was a large MNC, won EFKM award in 2022. The other organization was public sector organization, again award-winning organization, very mature, started their BE journey in 1992. The organization Z is a leading hospital in somewhere in Europe, but again, EFKM award winner. And interestingly, when I will showcase their results, you will see that they have some similarities, but they have their own, approach towards assessment. So Organization X, that is MNC, a multinational corporate based in Europe. They have a very interesting assessment approach. They do both self-assessment and external assessment. From this internal assessment model or self-assessment approach, I found that they have full assessment where they do entire organization-wide assessment. It's like a award-based sort of assessment, but full assessment where 8 people teams, many teams come together and do assessment overall for the entire organization. And they also implemented short assessment. So short assessment is very interesting concept where the CEO found a small team, like around 8 people from different, department. They come together and review last year action plan progress. So this was a very interesting assessment approach because I didn't find CEO involving in assessment process. But when I was talking to the feedback was that because CEO is part of the process, he was actually looking some areas of improvement by himself. So he actually very instrumental in driving excellence in that specific organization. In addition to the internal or self-assessment, they also have very interesting model around external assessment. So unlike other, organizations where conventional external assessment goes, they invite their main customer to come and assess them. So they assess their main customer on the EFQM model. The assessment teams come from the customers. They do internal assessment. They see where the area of opportunities lies in the organization and provide award type feedback to the organization to improve. So this organization again is interesting concept from Dubai Group. From perspective, you can actually see where you can involve your customers to come and see what you're doing and provide you feedback on your excellence maturity. The other organization was public sector organization. And this organization has again very interesting concept. They were following, they are still following EFQM, Deming, and their local, national quality award as well. So they actually combine all criteria components together in some theme. So they call it theme-wise assessment. So their internal assessment pick all those themes and assess the organization so that they have very interesting, comprehensive, unified, assessment approach toward the organization. And again, like Organization X, they have internal team which comprise of different departments come together and assess internal capabilities. Interestingly, each year they have different teams coming from different departments. So they use internal self-assessment teams as capability improvement initiative as well. So they think that if we get training more assessors in the organization is basically improving their internal capabilities. And the other interesting thing that I found was their mock assessment. So basically they were doing 2-3 models. So they used to invite external assessor or consultant to come from the outside and conduct award model sort of mock assessment before they go for actual award assessment. So that process was basically enabling them to prepare better and identify areas of improvement before someone else come and from the rigorous award processes. So this finding was again very interesting and very relevant to your organization because you also might have multiple models working in your organization and you can actually have a unified approach towards assessment. The third organization is from Europe again, a leading hospital, and they had again very interesting self-assessment approach. They have not a conventional self-assessment. They have action plan review process. This is what they call it. And what they do, every year they pick last year action plan document and go and check how the improvement has been implemented. What is the status of that action plan? And this is how they actually ensure that implementation of ongoing improvement projects is on track, and they fix accountabilities and issues if they find something in the process. So that was very interesting, a process that I found. And the interesting part was that whatever the self-assessment results they were collecting through that action planning review process, it goes straight to the country leadership team so that they can see how seriously the action plan implementation plan was taking last year and what are the gaps in the process. And again, they also have external assessment model in place, but instead of doing every year, they was doing external assessment every three years. So again, internal assessment or self-assessment were actually doing the work of evaluating their performance, and to avoid internal self blindness, they have this external assessment in place as well, where external teams come from the outside and review the internal maturity. So if I summarize what we see in my research, that regular assessments are very, very important. So you have to have institutionalized somewhere or operationalize your internal self-assessment so that you can keep finding areas of improvement. Not one size fits all. So you have to have your own assessment approach. So you decide what fits with you, but do assessment, because this is very, very important component of your excellence journey. Theme-based framework, again, is very interesting, especially organizations working in Dubai or UAE, because these organizations are actually following multiple models, and themes can actually help you to improve your performance. CEO and senior leadership in engagement is very, very important. That emerges as one of the most important enabler for implementing excellence. If excellence message is coming from the top, it's going to happen. So internal capabilities and everything improves when you have support from the CEO and the management team. The other thing that I found was, although what you have, you're doing really well in your excellence journey, you have to have engage your staff, field staff, and internal employees on daily, not daily, but activities around assessment, so that they should know, they should feel that they are part of the team and they are actually, see the improvement coming from excellence. Similarly, assessment is very important, but if you involve teams in a way that actually also help you to improve training aspect of your internal capabilities, that would be very nice. And again, from capabilities perspective, is also very important that you should be following that. So this was the research overall, but you can always come back to me. You can scan and then follow me on LinkedIn. And if you would like to read more about research, I'm happy to share my research and findings with you in different blogs and papers that I wrote. Yeah, so thank you very much, Dubai Quality Group and Robin, for giving me this opportunity. And thank you. Over to you, Robin.
Because there's a couple of the other things we're going to briefly go through. I realize we've got so much things we could actually share, so we can't go through in a lot of detail. But I will just briefly, a couple of minutes on the trade best practice benchmarking methodology, then also a couple of minutes on the global benchmarking network. So I hope that many of you are already aware of the trade best practice benchmarking methodology. It's being used now by many organizations in the United Arab Emirates, as they've been supported by the Dubai government for many years now. And this provides really a systematic approach to learning from other organizations. And you can see here the 5 stages of trade. The concept is very simple. It's basically, deciding what area of your organization you want to focus on. What are your key challenges? So you need to plan the project. You need to review your current situation, make sure you're addressing the right area. And then from that knowledge, you can then think about which other organizations you need to learn from, where you're going to find these best practices and then learn from them, then deploy them, and then evaluate the best practices. I mean, the reason why it's so powerful, really, this methodology, is because it is not just about finding best practices. It is making sure that something is done with that learning. Too often you see benchmarking projects done. They call them benchmarking projects. They might be learning best practices or trying to find benchmarks, but often nothing happens after that. This really makes sure that a benchmarking project involves deployment and involves evaluation of what the impact of the project has been too. So it's really a cyclical project. And the other key element about this is that it's not just about learning from others. It's also about change management, making sure that you have the right people who are inside your organization who are engaged with the project. So it's not designating benchmarking to a benchmarking unit and asking that unit to do the benchmarking on behalf of everybody else inside the organization. It's involving the process owners, the stakeholders who are going to be affected by the benchmarking, to be actually engaged in the benchmarking project itself, because ultimately they're the ones who are going to be affected by the change once you implement the best practices. So they need to be on board with the whole process. So benchmarking really is taking a group of people on a learning journey to learn from the best practice of others. And then once they've gone through that learning, to get agreement from the various stakeholders that this is what needs to be implemented. And then you have that consensus in terms of the implementation, which means that everybody has a full understanding and those best practice can be sustained for the future. And that's why you have that rigorous sort of methodology supporting that. These are some of the benchmarking projects we've helped to facilitate and coordinate with the Dubai Government Excellence Programme over many years now across a diversity of projects. You can actually find copies of those projects, case studies of those projects through going to the Dubai Government Excellence Programme website and accessing their library. You can also get access to these through going to the bpr.com website too, or contacting me afterwards. These are some of the projects that have just been completed, and the teams who are responsible for these projects will be, I believe, recognised in the next week or so. It's going to be confirmed because they need to have the Secretary General's support for that. So that'll be probably happening, I think, at the end of next week. But you can see some of these projects and they'll be impacting you already because you're often the receiver of these services from the Dubai government. So such things from Dubai Electricity Water Authority, the high electricity consumption alert system. That's been part of a benchmarking project and how they've developed that system. So that if you're user of electricity, which you will be inside Dubai, then you're alerted. You're sent an alert if your use is higher than expected, to warn you to find out why you're using electricity more than usual. So, because ultimately the focus here is having the United Arab Emirates as a more sustainable society, therefore reducing consumption if it's not necessary. And there's also other initiatives here like Dubai Can initiative, trying to make sure that Dubai is a more sustainable place as well, trying to get people not to use plastic just once. It's about using water responsibly. And so ideally not using plastic water bottles at all. But if you are, then don't use them just as a single use. So all of these projects use benchmarking to improve, and there are case studies on this. Just to bring your awareness, really, that why these projects are so successful. Most of these projects bring at least a return of 4 million US dollars, which would be over 12 million dirhams, I think, per project, either for themselves or for the society as a whole. It's because the rigor of the approach, the tools they use. So they always develop terms of reference for the project. They use techniques like fishbone analysis, SWOT analysis to understand the problems. They make sure they're measuring the progress of the projects right from the very start to the end, so they can measure their impact. They involve their stakeholders. They get lots of ideas from their teams of how to improve and combine those with the best practices they learn from other organizations. And this is how you develop next practices. So you're not just learning from other organizations, you're combining that with your own team's learning and ideas. And the other thing is that they use very structured approach to learning from other organizations using best practice search forms as well. So really breaking down the areas, breaking down the challenges that they're facing into specific areas of learning and then focus on those. And this enables them to learn not only from the same industry, but also from other industries. The more you break down a problem into its component parts, then the easier it is to think of other organizations you can learn from other industries. So that's one thing with the trade methodology. The other thing, just very briefly, a couple of minutes on the Global Benchmarking Network. Dubai Quality Group are a member of the Global Benchmarking Network, which means they're an ambassador of benchmarking inside the United Arab Emirates. But we've recently decided as part of the Global Benchmarking Network that we want to make sure the Global Benchmarking Network has a bigger impact, not only in the United Arab Emirates, but worldwide. So we're wanting more ambassadors of benchmarking. So this is an organization now which is going to be there for everybody who's got a passion for benchmarking, a passion for helping organizations to improve through learning from best practices. So the GBN was started a long time ago, and this was often through the work of many leaders in benchmarking around the world, including Dr. Robert Camp, who was, the pioneer in benchmarking at Xerox. The idea is for the Global Benchmarking Network to become the global hub for benchmarking, and be the body of knowledge for benchmarking worldwide. As I say, we've already got members, which are generally membership organizations or major consultancies, but now we're broadening this out. It's really for any individuals or organizations which feel they can play a role in encouraging the use of benchmarking worldwide. So we already have some services for benchmarking, but we're going to look at them again and see what's the best fit to move forward. So one of the services we already provide is a global benchmarking award, and we've already, so that's already very successful, and we've had winners actually from the United Arab Emirates in the past. For instance, Dubai Municipality has been a winner in the Global Benchmarking Award, and Dubai Police were last year. But if you're interested in finding out more about the Global Benchmarking Network, that we are going to be doing a relaunch starting at the end of this month. There are going to be 2 webinars promoting the relaunch. One will be on the 30th of April and one will be on the 21st of May. So that will be at, actually that's 2 p.m. time, United Arab Emirates, not UTC time. So that's the time. And if you would like information on the GBN and what it's all about and why you should be interested in it, then you can access this link. This will be shared with you afterwards. And if you can meet these particular commitments, which shows you've got a passion for the GBN or a passion for benchmarking, then you might be the right person or organization to become part of the GBN. So do consider that. So with that, we've covered these 4 areas as part of our webinar: the International Best Practice Competition, the Organizational Excellence Architecture, the Trade Best Practice benchmarking methodology, and provide you very brief updates from the Global Benchmarking Network. We've also pointed you in the right direction to find out more information about all of these. And we've got a few minutes of Q&A, but you've also got my details as well afterwards. I'm sure all this will be shared. This has been recorded too for you to find more information. So thank you very much indeed. So Doa and Mira, happy for you to.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Robin, for being with us today. And thank you, Dr. Atif, as well, to participate and dedicate your time with us. I would like to advise the participant to apply immediately for the competition, the International Best Practice Competition, and catch the second deadline that has been extended by Dr. Robin. I believe it's till the 5th of May, if I am not mistaken.
Yeah, it's the 5th of May, but even after that, if necessary, we can extend it a little bit longer, maximum of about 10 days longer than that, and there'll have to be a cutoff eventually.
Yeah, perfect. I would like to take this opportunity as well to inform the participant about our the upcoming award that has been launched yesterday, the 14th cycle of Global Continual Improvement Award. I'm going to leave the link of this award in the chat section. So who interested to know more about our awards, he can easily access the link. Now, I will introduce my colleague, Mira Dos. She will be taking care of the questions and the concern. So I would like to request from the participant to drop their concerns in the Q&A sections, and we will take it further. Who want to drop the questions using the voice features, please use the emoji of raise hand, and we will open the mic to you. Mira, please.
Thank you, Doa, and thank you so much for Dr. Robin and Dr. Atif for the insightful session. We have 3 questions. The first one from Hashir. Does BPIR facilitate benchmarking between organizations? Also, the term benchmarking does mean process-to-process benchmarking or to benchmark KPIs or quantitative outputs.
Okay, so of course our team can facilitate benchmarking between organizations, and we also have the bpr.com website resource, which Dubai Quality Group members can access. And that hosts all the best practices that are shared for the International Best Practice Competition. So over the years, over 800 best practices have been shared for the International Best Practice Competition, and they're all inside the bpr.com. And we also share not only the best practices in video format, but they also provide the contact details of those applicants as well. So sometimes those applicants have moved on from their organization, but the ones which are shown for the last few years, they should still be working for those organizations and can be contacted. So yeah, there's information there that can assist you, but also our team can assist too. In terms of the word benchmarking, this is a very, very good question. Everybody, when you talk to people about benchmarking, everybody's got a different interpretation, really, of what benchmarking is. And this is why I think it's important to clarify that from each person's perspective. So my perspective on benchmarking might be different than somebody else's, because obviously I've been working in this area for many years. So when I think about benchmarking, I like to split the word into two parts. One part is a benchmark. So if you talk about a benchmark, that's comparison of performance. So comparing performance of one organization against another. It could be financial performance, it could be safety performance. And you're doing that to find out what the performance gap is and whether you want to learn from another organization. So the benchmark is important to do, but it does not provide solutions. It just identifies that perhaps you've got a problem in comparison with others, and it potentially identifies other organizations who are performing better, but it does not give you solutions. When you add the ing to the benchmark, it means that you're doing something with that information. It means that not only you're finding out which organizations excel, therefore you've done the benchmark and find which organizations are performing better, but you're now contacting them. You're trying to find out what are they doing differently. So you're trying to learn from their best practices, and you don't even stop there. You then got to think about how can we implement them, and then how can we evaluate our success. So benchmarking to me includes a full cycle of the benchmarking process, and a benchmark just is a comparison. So hopefully that answers your question. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Robin. We have another question from Haya. What should we do before joining the competition?
What should you do before joining the competition? I don't know. You should be smiling and happy and be highly motivated. And I think that you should be considering which best practices to select for the competition. And I would, in your shoes, be thinking about in which aspects of performance inside our organization do we know we perform well in? So where have we got good results inside our organization? And then I'll be thinking, okay, where have we got good results and what's causing those results? And so whatever is causing those results is potentially a best practice. So if you're going to achieve 5 stars, 6 stars, or 7 stars in international best practice, you've got to demonstrate results. So that's why I say I would work backwards. From where can you think we can show good results? What's causing results? And then put that forward as a best practice in terms of your application.
Okay, great. The third question from Hesher. What is the impact on benchmarking practices with the advent of Gen AI?
I think it's helpful. All technology assists in terms of benchmarking. As I've said, with respect to the actual searching for best practices, it assists in terms of when you find good information and you're writing benchmarking reports as we do for clients, then using again chat GPT assists as well. So it's in a multitude of ways. I think technology does assist, but I still think where it does not assist is that ultimately, I think to improve, you still need person-to-person interaction to make sure that this knowledge, which is not sort of explicit, is captured when you're as a human being. We can capture knowledge, and it sticks in your brain much more easily when somebody is explaining it as a person to person. I realize artificial intelligence is important. It is improving. It's becoming more like a person. But I think using a variety of methods of learning helps to embed that learning inside a human being. So certainly use artificial intelligence, but the human element as well is absolutely essential.
Thank you so much, Dr. Robin. The last question we have is Dubai Quality Group also collaborating with EFQM to introduce the QG Business Excellence Model, similar to the QG old MRM or SKEA? I think you should take this question.
Thank you so much, Mira. Regarding the collaboration with the EFQM, definitely over the past years, we used to be the official representative of the EFQM in the UAE and the Middle East as well. But I do believe that anything related to EFQM model or SKEA or MRM, actually, we have our own model as a Dubai Quality Group, but it didn't launch to the public right now. We are working to provide the kind of platform like this. But for the other models, I do believe that you have to get in touch with them directly. However, you can proceed for the following question. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Daya. We have another question. How do you determine the benchmark standards? How we will know this by this will be the benchmark for this manufacturing operations?
I think the key here is that if you're talking about manufacturing operations, you need to obviously break that down into which parts of your manufacturing operations are causing some issues. So when you do benchmarking, you just don't focus on a very broad area. You break it down into the key components of the challenge that you're facing, whether it's risk management in terms of manufacturing operations, whether it's safety issues, whether it's maintenance, whatever it may be. And then you would do a best practice search, and this is where you can use ChatGPT and AI, but also use Google searches, etc., to search for best practice in that particular area where organisations might have been recognised as winning an awards. Therefore, they're a potential benchmarking partner, or it might be you can find some benchmark data with respect to the specific processes you're focusing on. So all this information should be used to identify potential organizations that are performing better than you. But you never really know till you start to contact them and develop a relationship with them. So these are potential organizations to learn from. You then go and once you've identified those, sometimes you can get good information already from the internet. There could be best practice case studies or documents to learn from directly. But otherwise, I advise where you can, you should be contacting organizations to learn from them, either using social media initially to get the right contacts, and then you'd use virtual meetings, etc. Or if they're nearby, go and visit them. And from that's learning, where you go to ask them questions, you interrogate, not really interrogate, but you're trying to delve into more detail about the work that they do. Then this should give you insights or not, whether they're performing better, but it should be generally giving you new ideas. It should be stimulating your own thought patterns of what could we use here for our own organization to improve. To be honest, it doesn't really matter whether they're tremendously superior to you. They should be on the specific areas that you want to learn from them. But the main thing you're trying to do is improve your own current performance. So always you've got to be thinking in the back of your mind, if you implement the practice that they're using, or you adapt it in some way, would that improve your own performance? Most benchmarking projects that we do for the Dubai government, they'd be identifying between maybe 60 to 120 good ideas or practices to implement. And before going ahead and implementing them, they can't possibly implement all of those. They'd be thinking which ones of these are going to bring the biggest returns and are the easiest to implement. So they're looking at ease of implementation plus also impact. From those, they might implement 15. So this is a case when you do benchmarking learning, benchmarking visits. They don't necessarily need to be absolutely superior. Still, if you're asking the right questions, you'll find something that potentially will help your organization to improve. And you've got to think about how that will elevate your own performance.
Great, thank you so much. We don't have any more questions, so we would like to thank you, Dr. Robin and Dr. Atif, for your time and for the insightful webinar. We'd like to also thank all of our attendees for being with us today. We would like to tell you that the webinar have been recorded and it will be posted on YouTube and also be sent to all the attendees via email. Thank you so much for your time.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.